right, welcome to the fourth and final game of the evening, Harvester of Dreams, Episode 1. So, if you will recall what I mentioned at the top of the season, I was going to introduce, stuff like freeware games and player games since Twilight is on sabbatical. It depends on our code load, mind you, but clearly there was a gap this week, so I think this is our first freeware game of the season. Like, not going to be the last, at least on schedule. Granted, things change depending on what's available and what might has to be shifted. Like, sometimes we get games well in advance, and I'm like, I can't review this. But anyway, so Harvester of Dreams Episode 1 is a first-person adventure game. It calls itself a walking simulator. I would disagree.
Too much other stuff to do.
Yeah, no, this is actually a fairly traditional adventure game. But like, you solve puzzles to advance. You use the item on the thing to advance. That's not a walking simulator. That is a puzzle game. That is a point-and-click adventure game. Mm-hmm. If you had to place it, if this were in the 90s, this would be compared to Myst. Like, honestly, the modernity feels like its length, because it's in the title, Episode 1. It's the presumptive first episode. I have no idea if there's ever going to be an episode 2. But it is definitely very much an episode 1. And it follows that episodic adventure game model. That is to say, it'll last you about an hour, 2 hours. And like as short as maybe 15 to 30 minutes if you know all the puzzles. Mm-hmm. And not all of them are logic puzzles. Like Petty Fan is playing Demon Ball, which is more a dexterity puzzle. Because what you got to do is you got to get the ball up the mountain into the central hole, so you can get a item that you will need later on. But also worth noting, it's not a 100% pure adventure game either. In, let's say, the second part of the game, you will encounter first-person shooting sections. And, yeah, it's not elaborate or anything. You're basically shooting down turrets of various sorts. But
you usually don't get a gun in walking simulators.
Yeah, it is a shift in genre and gameplay style. Not a very elegant or smooth one, I think. Like, not gonna lie, this is definitely stronger in the adventure game aspect than it was in the shooting gallery aspect. Like the shooting gallery was competent at best, but it wasn't exciting. No, I mean, the more important thing going on there was by that point you're in the gameplay revelations, which honestly weren't all that revelatory, considering, it's kind of in the title, you're in a dream. Like, but anyway, so yeah, overall it's an interesting package. It claims to have a retro art style. Like, I guess I could see that. Especially aesthetically, like harkening back to steampunk. See, Petty Fan's just gotten the goggles. That is pure adventure game right there. I'm like, if you're looking for the glasses, they're behind the thing.
One of these things is not fucking like the others. It was one of those Shamrock.
Yep.
Yeah, that is not what is traditionally referred to in the business as a mineral.
Or is it?
That actually has its own special animation. The lens, which you will need later on for a movement puzzle. Not shocking, given it's a lens.
Mm-hmm.
If you want more glasses, you get it from the waiter thing over there. Yeah. You like I said, you really can't call this a walking simulator when you're doing traditional puzzle things. Like this is
a walking simulator was a term developed for people who were like developing adventure games without any puzzles or anything, and people were saying, well, it's not really much of an adventure game if there aren't any puzzles.
right. This is very clearly an adventure game, as we've known it for decades. Fully 3D and exceedingly short, but adventure game nonetheless. And how did it meet itself out? Fairly well. Like the actual puzzles aren't too difficult. And it's a small game, so I won't say you won't get stuck, but there's a lot less of fiddling with item W, so you hope it opens lock M. We've all played adventure games where you have like 1,000 items and you're not sure exactly which one or a combination of which is required to open the next key or hole. Like, let's see. As far as the story, fairly inscrutable for the first part, but it makes itself known in the second part. And do I hope to see episode 2? I mean, it's got a sequel hook. Like, I'd file it under I guess. It's mainly because, like I said, this is so short that it kind of skips on some details like who the fuck you are. And there's not really a lot of environmental storytelling, and you couldn't really trust that anyway because what you're seeing isn't necessarily real. I mean, might be. They really haven't quantified how.
Also, if it is a dream, how real are dreams in this world?
Well, I'm kind of talking around some spoilers. I can actually answer that.
Fair enough.
I mean, I guess to clarify things, since the game is free, it's actually not a dream; it's a simulation. That's the big reveal. Once you get out of the airship, you're walking down to the image facility, let's call it, and the game has the sequel hook when you're dragged back into the simulation, which, like I said, is a fairly compelling sequel hook on its premise. As far as like emotional investment, it's kind of the polar opposite of the first game we reviewed. Like, this is all environment and setting versus character and emotion. It's an interesting dichotomy. So this originally was a freeware game. It was originally a paid game when it came out a few years ago. But it looks like as of May of last year, the game got turned into freeware in the hopes of attracting any sort of attention. Because apparently it wasn't selling really well. And not for nothing, I'm not surprised. I don't know the price point, but this game is exceeding, like, going back to my critiques of the Magnificent Truffle Pigs and Far From Home, or sorry, the narrative experience is that no longer home. Sorry. Fine narrative experiences, but they felt a bit too short for their price point. And this is always kind of a balancing act when you create things, especially for commercial purposes. But this no longer has a commercial purpose, at least not this episode. Usually with the episodic bunch, you get the first episode free as a taste. But like I said, this game came out about 2 years ago at this point. Oh, no, over 2 years ago. That's January, not June. And yeah, nothing really on the horizon in terms of a second episode. So it might be hard to recommend in terms of investiture because, you can play through it, but there's no guarantee that the story will ever conclude. But on the other hand, it's free. And it's not going to be a drain on your time too much because, like I said, it's really short. It's about 2 hours max, I'd say. And as a freeware title, it's perfectly fine. I found the puzzles good enough. As I said, the shooting gallery wasn't as good, but nothing awful. Now, I'd say it's a solid 6 out of 10 in terms of playability. And as a freeware title, perfectly worth checking out. If you don't like it, you can stop. There's no monetary investment. It's the nice thing about these things. It's more a judgment of time versus money. As far as time, yeah, it's good. Right, so Petty, you've been playing the game. How is it from your perspective?
It's a game.
Yes, it is. Also, the solution to this puzzle is you have to die.
Oh, okay.
But we'll leave it at that. Anyway, that'll about do it for Harvester of Dreams Episode 1. That'll about do it for this review session. The week ahead. Reminds me, I got to send out some Discord links in the morning. But anyway, on Wednesday, August 18th, we'll be welcoming Bruce Nico of Function Unknown. Oops, forgot to bring up their page. Give me a moment. This sometimes happens with the live research. Let's see. They made the indie game Alpha Particle. I have to look this up. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, here it is. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Alpha Particle is a sci-fi action game about a defenseless particle that must overcome its obstacles creatively. So that's a thing to look forward to. We do have a Friday show this week. Thank God, because this is an interview that got delayed a few times, mainly due to scheduling reasons. But thankfully, I'm pleased to announce that Dune of Fun Selector will be joining us on Friday. He is the creator of The Art of Rally, which just got a Xbox release this past week. That's one of the things that caused the delay. That they were working on the Xbox port, and they initially thought we were doing this interview last week. I'm like, no, we're doing it next week. Like, I put the date in the fucking notes I send, so it was there. But sometimes that happens. Oh well, it all got cleared up. So until Wednesday, I shall wish you good gaming.